Taran had never seen a planet like Zythera. From the shuttle window, he could see glowing rivers that reflected colors no human had names for. The mountains shimmered like crystal, and the skies shifted between green and gold with a soft, calming light. Humans had traveled far, but none had been to a world that seemed alive in every sense. He stepped onto the smooth surface of the landing platform. The air smelled faintly sweet, like flowers that did not exist on Earth. Around him, the Zytherians moved gracefully, their tall, elegant forms gliding rather than walking. Their skin was pale with a soft luminescence that made them appear almost unreal. Each movement seemed perfectly balanced, as if their bodies were built for harmony rather than speed. Taran adjusted the strap of his uniform. He felt small in comparison, awkward in his bulkier human body. He was part of a human delegation sent to learn from the Zytherians, to build alliances. The council had warned him to be careful. Humans had a reputation for unpredictability, but as he stepped forward, something deep in him stirred. The gathering hall was vast. The floor was a single sheet of transparent crystal that revealed a glowing world below. High above, light moved in patterns like a silent orchestra. Zytherians gathered in lines, their eyes bright with curiosity. Humans were rare here, and Taran felt every pair of alien eyes on him. Then he saw her, Princess Mira. She stood apart, as if the space around her was her own world. Her hair flowed like silver, catching the light of Zythera in every strand. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, deep and thoughtful, and they seemed to look beyond the surface of things. She was smiling, but it was not a simple smile. It was quiet, full of wisdom and curiosity, as though she had already understood something that others would take years to notice. Taran's breath caught. He did not understand why his heart beat so fast. He had trained for diplomacy, for negotiation, for survival, but nothing had prepared him for this feeling, this unexpected pull toward a being so different from himself. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "If only I could marry her." The words felt foolish as soon as they left his lips. He was a visitor, a stranger in a world of beings who had lived for centuries. How could anyone think that a human could even approach a princess of Zythera? He turned, intending to focus on the delegation, to hide the foolish hope that had escaped him. But then he felt it. A presence, strong and undeniable. The court had fallen silent. All attention seemed to focus on him. And then he saw her, Queen Zyra, the ruler of Zythera herself. She had been observing from a distance, her expression unreadable, her eyes sharp like crystal daggers. Taran froze. The queen was known for her wisdom and her power. She could command the court with a single glance. The rumor said she could see the truth in anyone's heart. And now she looked at him. "You spoke aloud what many only think," Queen Zyra said, her voice smooth and deep, echoing slightly in the crystal hall. Every Zytherian present turned to look at him. Taran felt a weight settle on his shoulders, heavier than any armor he had ever worn. I did not mean to speak to you, Your Majesty," he stammered. His voice sounded strange in the vast hall, small and human. The queen stepped forward. Her robe shimmered like liquid light. She moved without a sound, yet every motion demanded attention. She studied him, and Taran felt as though she was looking not at his face but at the very core of him. "Yet you spoke truth," she said. Her gaze did not waver. "You see her not as a prize, not as a title, but as a person. This is rare among humans. Most are blinded by ambition or fear." Taran swallowed hard. I only admire her. I only wish—" "You wish," the queen interrupted, her voice calm but firm, "to be more than what you are. You wish to claim what many believe you cannot. Yet your heart is honest. Perhaps that is enough," the court murmured in surprise. It was unheard of for a human to receive the attention of the queen, let alone a comment so unusual. The air seemed to hum, almost as if the world itself was listening. Taran's mind raced. He wanted to bow, to apologize, to explain, but the words failed him. Instead, he only stood, aware of every heartbeat, every breath, every small movement he made. He felt as if 1,000 eyes were tracing him, but it was not fear. It was curiosity. "Your Majesty," he began cautiously, "I'm only a visitor. I am not—" "You are exactly what Zythera needs," the queen said, cutting through his protest. "You are human, yes. Imperfect, untested, fragile in ways our kind rarely sees. Yet you possess courage, sincerity, and a heart that dares to speak its truth. These qualities are rare among all species." Taran blinked. He could barely believe what he was hearing. He had trained for years to be a diplomat, to negotiate trade and alliances. He had faced dangers in space, technical failures, and hostile worlds. But he had never imagined being spoken to like this by an alien queen. Why are you saying this to me? He asked, voice low, unsure if he dared breathe too loudly. Queen Zira smiled faintly. Because sometimes the universe chooses in ways we do not expect. Sometimes the heart of one being can shift the course of many. You have spoken aloud what you feel, and for that courage you have my attention. The murmurs in the court grew louder. Zetherians whispered to one another, questioning the meaning of this unusual declaration. It was not just the words. It was the audacity of the queen to consider a human in such a light. Terran felt a mix of pride and fear. His entire life had been spent following orders, understanding strategy, controlling his emotions. Now all he could do was stand and listen, unsure if he deserved even a fraction of the attention he was receiving. The queen stepped closer, and the glow around her seemed to brighten, bathing the hall in soft, warm light. If you wish to pursue this path, she said, know that it will not be simple. The traditions of Zithera are complex, and humans are not always welcomed in our courts. Yet I see something in you. Perhaps that is enough to begin. Terran nodded, unable to speak. His mind spun with questions. Could a human truly belong here? Could he ever be worthy of someone like Princess Mira? And yet something deep inside told him to trust the queen's words, to hope. The queen turned, and the court followed her movement with silent reverence. She addressed everyone present. Let it be known, she said, her voice carrying the weight of command, that the heart of a human has caught my attention. Let this be a beginning of understanding between our worlds. Gasps filled the hall. Some Zetherians whispered in disbelief while others watched with intrigue. Humans were unpredictable, but perhaps there was value in their honesty, their determination, and their courage. Terran finally found his voice. Your Majesty, I will do my best. I will prove myself worthy, he said, though he did not yet understand what that might mean. The queen nodded once, a gesture both approving and enigmatic. We shall see, she said, and with that she stepped back. The light around her dimmed slightly, and the court slowly returned to its usual hum of activity. But for Terran, nothing felt normal anymore. Every glance he stole at Princess Mira made his heart leap. Every thought of her filled him with determination. He knew that the path ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges he could not yet imagine. Yet he also knew that for the first time in his life, he had a purpose that felt larger than any mission or duty he had known. As the delegation moved through the halls of Zithera, Terran could not help but steal glances at Mira. She noticed him watching, and their eyes met for a brief moment. She tilted her head slightly, a small smile touching her lips as if acknowledging the unspoken connection between them. Terran's heart raced. He whispered to himself again, not expecting anyone to hear. If only I could truly be worthy of her. And somewhere in the vast, radiant palace, Queen Zira smiled knowingly, understanding more than Terran could ever realize. For the first time, a human felt that perhaps the impossible was only the beginning. The morning after the gathering, Terran woke early. Even in sleep, he had dreamed of Princess Mira and the soft glow of Zithera's skies. The queen's words from the previous day echoed in his mind, a mixture of encouragement and challenge. He did not know what the future held, but he sensed that his life on this planet had changed forever. The human delegation was scheduled for a formal audience with Queen Zira. Terran had been instructed to accompany the diplomats, but his attention was focused elsewhere. He wondered how a human could ever earn the respect of a world so far beyond Earth. He wondered if the queen's words were merely politeness, a fleeting gesture to amuse herself with a foreign species. As the shuttle landed near the throne hall, Terran felt his nerves tighten. The crystal structures reflected the morning sun, making the entire place shimmer. He stepped out, feeling the smooth floor beneath his boots, and followed the delegation into the hall. Zetherians were already gathering, moving with the precision and grace that made them appear like dancers in a silent performance. Then he saw her again. Princess Mira. She stood near the throne, her silver hair catching the light, her eyes calm and thoughtful. Terran's breath quickened. He realized he had never seen someone so poised and yet approachable at the same time. She smiled at him briefly. and he felt a warmth spread through his chest. The queen appeared soon after, her robes flowing like liquid light. Every movement she made drew attention. She did not speak immediately, but surveyed the assembly, her eyes finally resting on Terran. For a moment, the hall was silent. Zetherians seemed to sense that something unusual was about to occur. Terran's stomach tightened. He had faced dangerous missions before, but nothing prepared him for this. The queen's gaze was sharp, intelligent, and filled with authority. She stepped forward, her presence commanding the room. "Terran," she said, her voice calm and steady. "Step forward." Terran's heart pounded. All eyes turned to him, the murmurs of the Zetherians growing louder. He swallowed hard and moved toward the throne. Every step felt heavy, yet he walked steadily, trying not to betray his nervousness. The queen's eyes softened slightly as he approached. "You spoke yesterday," she said, words of hope and longing. "You whispered of a desire most would never dare speak aloud." Terran bowed his head. "Your Majesty," the queen held up her hand. "I heard you," she said. "Your words were honest. They were not of selfishness, ambition, or pride. You spoke with sincerity. Such honesty is rare even among your own species. Therefore I make a decree." Gasps echoed through the hall. Terran froze, unsure if he had heard correctly. A decree? The queen's words could change the course of his life, but he could not yet understand what she meant. "Let it be known," Queen Zira continued, "that the human who dares to speak his heart aloud shall be granted the opportunity to earn the hand of Princess Mira. Let all Zetherians witness this moment. Let it be remembered that the courage of one human can change the perception of many." Terran could not believe what he was hearing. His mind spun. The hall seemed to tilt, and yet he remained standing. The murmurs around him grew louder, some filled with excitement, others with disbelief. Humans were fragile, inexperienced, and their lifespans were short compared to Zetherians. How could a human hope to be considered a partner for a princess? The queen's eyes scanned the crowd. This is not an end, but a beginning. Terran will face trials to prove his worth. The hand of the princess is not given lightly. Yet he shall be allowed to try, for his heart is true and his courage is evident. Terran's legs trembled. He wanted to bow, to speak, to express gratitude, but words failed him. His entire being was filled with awe, fear, and determination. He realized that the path ahead would be difficult. The trials would not only test his skills, but also his spirit and his character. Princess Mira stepped forward. Her eyes met his, and in that moment Terran felt a quiet reassurance. She did not speak, but her presence conveyed understanding. She had seen the honesty in his heart, just as the queen had. For the first time, Terran felt that someone truly understood him, even across the vast difference of species. The queen addressed him again. "Terran, you will be guided through the trials of unity. These trials will test your intellect, your courage, and your compassion. Success is not guaranteed. Failure may bring disappointment, yet it will not diminish your worth. Approach each challenge with honesty, and you may discover strengths you did not know you possessed." Terran bowed deeply. "I will do my best, Your Majesty," he said. His voice was firm now, steadier than he had expected. The words felt true, not just polite. He meant them with every fiber of his being. The queen nodded, her expression unreadable. "Very well. You may begin preparations. Your first trial will start at dawn tomorrow. Be ready, human. Zithra watches, and your actions will echo far beyond this hall." The delegation around him remained silent, unsure how to react. Some human diplomats were impressed, some worried, but Terran barely noticed them. His focus was on the trials ahead, on Princess Mira, and on the challenge that had been placed before him. That evening, Terran could not sleep. He wandered the palace corridors, observing the elegant Zetherians as they moved gracefully through their world. Everything seemed alive, everything seemed interconnected. He realized how much he had to learn to survive and to be respected here. He thought of the queen's words about honesty and courage. He had spoken his heart, and now he would see if his heart was strong enough to endure what lay ahead. Terran found himself in the palace gardens. Crystalline plants glowed softly, casting light across paths of polished stone. A small fountain of shimmering liquid reflected the colors of the sky. He sat quietly, thinking of Princess Mira. Her calm, intelligent gaze lingered in his memory. He wondered if she even considered him worthy yet. Could he ever truly meet her expectations? A voice spoke softly behind him. "You carry a heavy weight, human." Terran turned to see Princess Mira standing a few steps away. Her presence was gentle yet commanding. He struggled to find words. I do not know if I am worthy, he admitted honestly. Your people are far more advanced, far wiser than I am. How could I ever hope to succeed? Mira smiled faintly. Terran, worthiness is not always measured by skill or knowledge. It is measured by the courage to try, by the honesty in your heart, and by the respect you show for others. If you carry these things, you are already stronger than many who have walked this world for centuries. Terran felt a warmth spread through him. Her words were simple, yet they carried more weight than any human lecture or training session. He realized that she was right. He had been honest, he had dared to speak his feelings, and now he had a path to follow. Perhaps that was enough to begin. The next morning, Terran awoke before dawn. He dressed in the uniform provided for the trials and made his way to the first testing ground. The halls were quiet, the crystal floors reflecting the light of the rising sun. Zetherians moved silently around him, some observing, some preparing for their own tasks. At the trial area, he saw a variety of Zetherian instructors and guides. They were tall, graceful, and calm, their eyes assessing him with quiet curiosity. He felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. This was his chance to prove himself, to show that a human could rise to challenges that even Zetherians might find difficult. The first trial was simple in description, but difficult in practice. He was to navigate a labyrinth that tested perception, logic, and intuition. The walls shimmered with light, changing colors and patterns that could either guide or confuse him. Many had failed before, lost in the illusion of the labyrinth for hours, sometimes days. Terran took a deep breath. He reminded himself of the Queen's words, of Princess Mira's encouragement, and of the hope he carried in his heart. With careful steps, he entered the labyrinth. Every choice he made, every turn, required thought and attention. He used logic, intuition, and observation, combining human creativity with patience. Hours passed, though he barely noticed. Time seemed different here, slowed by the focus required to navigate the shifting paths. Yet he continued, moving steadily, observing patterns, trusting his mind and instincts. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he reached the center of the labyrinth. A small platform glowed softly, signaling the successful completion of the trial. He exhaled, relief washing over him. He had succeeded not through strength or speed, but through thought, patience, and perseverance. When he emerged, Princess Mira was there. She watched him with quiet approval, her smile gentle and encouraging. The Queen's presence was nearby, observing, and Terran felt the weight of her gaze, not as judgment but as acknowledgement. For the first time, he felt a deep sense of purpose. He realized that the path ahead would be difficult, but he was not alone. The Queen had given him an opportunity, Princess Mira had offered encouragement, and he had his own courage and determination. Terran knew the journey had only begun, but he also knew that a human could rise to the challenge, even in a world as extraordinary as Zithera. The trials ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine, but he was ready to face them, and somewhere, in the quiet observation of the Queen and the warm gaze of Princess Mira, he felt that hope was no longer forbidden. The sun had barely risen over Zithera when Terran prepared for his second trial. He had completed the labyrinth, proving that his mind and patience could meet Zetherian challenges. Yet he knew the Queen's trials were designed not just to test intellect, but heart and courage as well. Today he would learn just how far he would be pushed. He entered the trial chamber, a vast hall filled with glowing platforms, hovering spheres, and pools of shifting liquid. Zetherian guides watched silently, their expressions unreadable. Terran felt a flicker of doubt. He had trained for diplomacy, for emergencies, for survival, but never for this. The trial seemed alien, even to his imagination. A voice spoke, calm and clear, echoing in the chamber. Terran, your task is to navigate the fields of reflection. You will face creatures that communicate through thought. You must understand their needs, fears, and intentions to pass. Approach with honesty and respect, and you may succeed. Approach with fear or haste, and failure will follow. Terran swallowed. He had never communicated without words in his life. He had never faced beings who understood emotion and thought as directly as these creatures could. Yet he remembered the Queen's words. Courage, honesty, and sincerity would guide him. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. The field stretched before him, glowing softly under the light of Zithra's twin suns. Strange creatures floated above the fields, their forms translucent, their movements graceful and hypnotic. Their eyes, or what Terran assumed were eyes, seemed to pierce through him, understanding his very thoughts. One of the creatures drifted closer. Terran froze, unsure how to act. The creature's form pulsed with light, changing colors rapidly. He felt a sense of curiosity mixed with caution. He spoke aloud, though he knew the being could sense more than words. "I mean no harm. I want to understand you, not control you." The creature paused. Its glow softened, and it hovered closer, as if considering his sincerity. Terran realized that his actions were as important as his words. He moved slowly, keeping his posture relaxed, his hands visible. Trust, he understood, had to be earned. Hours passed as Terran interacted with the creatures. Some tested him, sending waves of thought that mirrored fear, sadness, or confusion. He responded with patience, empathy, and steady calm. Others required him to solve subtle problems, moving objects without touching them, interpreting signals in light and sound, and acting in ways that aligned with their needs rather than his own desires. With each success, Terran's confidence grew. He began to see patterns in their behavior, understanding how Zitharian intelligence differed from human thinking, yet shared the same essence of curiosity and cooperation. His respect for the creatures deepened, and he felt a connection that transcended language and species. At the end of the fields, he approached a larger creature, more majestic than the rest. Its body was tall and luminous, with eyes that radiated wisdom. It tested him with a thought wave of fear and doubt, showing him visions of failure, of disappointing the queen, of being unworthy of Princess Mira. Terran stood firm. He closed his eyes briefly, breathing slowly, and reminded himself of his purpose. He thought of the queen's guidance and Mira's quiet encouragement. He acknowledged his fear but did not let it control him. He reached out with his mind as best he could, with honesty and clarity. The creature's glow softened again, and it moved closer, circling him once before retreating. A platform at the center of the field lit up, signaling his success. Terran exhaled, relief washing over him. He had faced fear and uncertainty and had acted with sincerity. He had proven that a human could adapt, understand, and respect even the most alien forms of life. When he exited the fields of reflection, he found Princess Mira waiting. She smiled warmly, though quietly, her eyes filled with approval. "You are learning quickly, Terran," she said. "Your mind is clever, but your heart is what guides you. That is what the Queen watches most closely." Terran nodded, feeling pride, but also humility. He realized that the trials were not just tests, but lessons. Every challenge forced him to see the world from a perspective far beyond human experience, and every step strengthened him in ways he could not yet describe. The next trial would be more difficult, the guides explained. It would test courage, physical skill, and the ability to remain calm under extreme pressure. The test was called the Bridge of Horizons, a path suspended over a deep chasm filled with shifting light and energy. Only those with steady hands, clear minds, and unshakable resolve could cross it. Terran approached the bridge at dawn. The Zitharians were silent observers, their expressions calm yet intent. Below him, the chasm glowed with colors that shifted like liquid fire. One wrong step and he could fall into a disorienting void. He gripped the sides of the narrow bridge, feeling its smooth, unyielding surface beneath his hands. The first step was the hardest. His legs trembled, his heart raced, but he focused on steady breathing. One foot in front of the other, he moved slowly, testing the balance of the bridge. Midway across, gusts of air swept through the chasm, causing the bridge to sway slightly. Terran's body tensed, yet he reminded himself to stay calm. Fear would not guide him here. Only focus and determination would allow him to succeed. Halfway across, he heard the voice of the Queen in his mind, as if carried on the winds of Zithra. Strength is not measured by the body alone. The heart and mind are the truest measure. Trust yourself, human. Encouraged, Terran continued. He noticed patterns in the bridge's movement. subtle shifts that required him to adjust his stance and timing. With patience, he navigated each challenge, step by careful step. As he reached the final section, a sudden vibration ran through the bridge. Energy pulsed beneath his feet, a test of his composure. He closed his eyes briefly, centered himself, and moved with intention rather than fear. When he stepped onto solid ground at the end, a platform glowed beneath him, signaling his success. The Zitharians clapped softly, a sound more melodic than human applause, and Taran felt a mixture of exhaustion and pride. He had faced a test that seemed impossible and had overcome it through courage, focus, and trust in himself. Princess Mira approached, her eyes bright with admiration. "You face these trials not as a human alone, but as someone who respects and learns from Zithara. That is rare, Taran. Many fail because they see only the challenge, not the lessons within it." Taran smiled, feeling a sense of belonging he had never experienced. He realized that the trials were more than just tests of skill. They were opportunities to grow, to understand, and to connect with a world far beyond his own. The Queen appeared at the edge of the platform. Her eyes met his, sharp yet approving. "You have performed well, human. You have shown intelligence, courage, and heart. But the greatest test is yet to come. Compassion and leadership will be required, and only those who act selflessly will succeed. Prepare yourself, Taran. The next trial will reveal more than your skill. It will reveal your character." Taran nodded, understanding that the path ahead would challenge every part of him. He had succeeded in the labyrinth, in the fields of reflection, and on the bridge of horizons, but he knew that true worth was measured not by completing tasks, but by how he responded to the needs of others. That evening, Taran found Mira waiting for him in the gardens. She walked beside him, her presence calming and steady. "You are stronger than you realize," she said. "The Queen sees more than you know. She watches for the choices you make, the way you treat others, and the courage you show when no one else is watching." Taran looked at her, grateful for her words. "I want to make her proud," he said. "I want to show that humans can be more than what they seem." Mira smiled softly. "You already are. The path is not easy, but your heart guides you. That is what matters most." Taran felt hope grow within him. The trials were not just about proving himself. They were about learning, understanding, and connecting. Each step, each challenge, brought him closer to the possibility of being worthy in the eyes of the Queen and of Princess Mira. As the sun set over Zithara, painting the sky in colors no human words could capture, Taran felt a quiet determination. He had faced the impossible and had grown stronger. He knew the journey was far from over, but for the first time, he felt ready for whatever came next. The stars of Zithara reflected in the pools of the palace gardens, and Taran understood that every trial, every moment, was part of something larger. A chance to rise, to learn, and perhaps to belong. And somewhere, in the quiet observation of the Queen and the gentle encouragement of Princess Mira, Taran felt that he was not alone. The impossible seemed closer, the future brighter, and the human spirit stronger than ever before. Taran had completed 3 trials, each testing his mind, courage, and heart. He had learned to navigate the labyrinth, communicate with the creatures of the fields of reflection, and cross the bridge of horizons. Each success brought him closer to proving his worth, yet he knew the hardest challenges were still ahead. The morning sun bathed the palace in soft gold as Taran walked through the corridors. Zitharians passed him silently, their movements graceful and precise. Some watched him with curiosity, others with skepticism. Despite his accomplishments, he understood that he was still an outsider, in a world far older and wiser than his own. Princess Mira awaited him in the central gardens, her presence calm and reassuring. She smiled as he approached. "You have done well so far, Taran," she said. "But the trials you have faced are only part of the journey. The next challenge will test your character in ways you cannot predict." Taran nodded. "I am ready," he said, though uncertainty lingered in his mind. He had grown stronger with each trial, yet he knew that the court's scrutiny would not fade. Acceptance would not come easily, and some would resist the idea of a human standing beside a Zitharian princess. The Queen's voice called from above, echoing through the gardens. Terran approached the Hall of Unity. Terran followed the crystalline path to a vast chamber. Light shimmered from every surface, reflecting patterns across the walls and floors. Zetherians gathered, their expressions solemn. The Queen's presence was commanding, yet there was a softness in her gaze as though she saw more than the crowd did. "Your next trial," she announced, "is one of leadership and compassion. A situation has arisen among our people that requires understanding, patience, and decisive action. Observe carefully and act with both your heart and mind." Terran's eyes scanned the room. In the center, a group of young Zetherians struggled to resolve a conflict. Their voices and gestures were polite but tense. Each side believed their perspective was correct, yet neither could find common ground. Terran approached slowly, keeping his movements calm. He remembered the lessons of the fields of reflection and the bridge of horizons. He spoke with respect, listening to both sides without judgment. "I do not know all the rules of your society," he said, "but I can listen and help find a solution that honors everyone." The Zetherians paused, surprised by the human's approach. He did not command or dictate. He asked questions, encouraged dialogue, and acknowledged each perspective. Slowly, the tension eased. Terran guided them to compromise, showing patience and insight beyond what many expected of him. The Queen observed silently, her gaze sharp yet approving. Terran realized that leadership was more than authority. It was understanding, listening, and helping others find strength in cooperation. By the time the conflict was resolved, the young Zetherians expressed gratitude and some even bowed to him in respect. Princess Mira approached him after the trial. "You see, Terran," she said softly, "the trials are not just tests of skill. They are lessons about what it means to belong here. The Queen watches how you interact with others, how you face challenges, and how you grow. Today, you have shown patience, wisdom, and a true heart." Terran felt a sense of pride, yet humility filled him as well. He had learned that success was not about proving himself superior, but about earning trust and respect through action. He looked at Mira and realized that his admiration for her had grown into something deeper, a desire to be worthy not just in the eyes of the Queen, but in the eyes of someone he respected and cared for. Days passed as Terran continued to face challenges designed to test his abilities and character. Some trials involved problem-solving with Zetherian technology. Others required cooperation with creatures he had never seen before. Each task demanded thought, patience, and courage. Each success reinforced the bond he felt with Zithera and its people. Meanwhile, whispers spread throughout the court. Some Zetherians were impressed by Terran's courage and honesty, others skeptical of a human achieving such progress. There were those who believed no human could ever meet the standards required to stand beside a princess. Terran sensed the tension, yet he did not let it deter him. One evening he found Mira waiting for him in the palace gardens. The twin moons of Zithera reflected in the pools, casting silver light across the paths. She smiled at him warmly, her eyes gentle yet confident. "Terran," she said, "you have faced trials that would challenge even the strongest Zetherians. You have shown courage, intelligence, and compassion. I see now that your heart is true and your intentions are honorable. That is rare in any world." Terran felt a warmth in his chest. "I only hope I can continue to be worthy, Mira. There is still so much to learn, and I do not want to fail." Mira reached out and touched his arm lightly. "Do not doubt yourself. The Queen watches, but she also trusts you. And I trust you. You have earned a place not by being perfect, but by being sincere, brave, and respectful." The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. They shared moments of quiet conversation, learning about one another's worlds. Terran spoke of Earth, its oceans, mountains, and cities. Mira described Zithera's history, its traditions, and the philosophy of its people. Each story strengthened their connection, and Terran began to understand the depth of Zetherian culture and the responsibility of standing alongside a princess. However, not all were pleased. Some members of the court saw Terran's growing influence as a threat. They whispered of rebellion, claiming that a human could never truly uphold Zetherian customs. They plotted to challenge the Queen's decree, hoping to sway her decision and prevent Terran from advancing further. Terran sensed the tension, but did not allow fear to dominate his actions. He understood that gaining trust required patience, consistency, and demonstration of integrity. Each interaction, each choice had the potential to strengthen or weaken his standing. He focused on his trials, on learning, and on showing respect to every Zitherian he met. One day the Queen summoned Terran to the council chamber. The room was vast, with glowing walls and intricate designs reflecting Zithera's history. Court members watched silently as Terran approached the throne. The Queen's eyes studied him carefully, noting his posture, expression, and demeanor. Some in the court questioned the wisdom of my decree. The Queen said calmly, "They doubt that a human can truly understand and respect our ways. Today, you will have the opportunity to demonstrate not only skill, but character. You will act as a mediator in a dispute between two influential Zetherian families." Terran nodded. He understood the gravity of the task. The dispute was complex, involving tradition, trade, and personal pride. Many had tried to resolve it before and failed. Success required patience, empathy, and careful judgment. He spent hours listening to each side, asking questions and clarifying misunderstandings. He remained calm, thoughtful, and respectful throughout, never favoring one side over the other. Slowly, he guided them to compromise, helping each side recognize the value in the other's perspective. When the council concluded, the room was silent for a moment. Then, one by one, the Zetherians acknowledged Terran's efforts with nods and murmurs of approval. Even those who had doubted him could not deny his sincerity and effectiveness. The Queen's gaze softened as she observed the outcome. "You have performed admirably," she said. "You have shown that leadership is not measured by force or authority, but by understanding, respect, and integrity. You are learning what it means to be part of Zythera, and you are earning the trust of its people." Terran bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to do my best." After the council, Mira met him in the gardens once again. They walked together under the glow of Zythera's moons. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said. "You have faced trials that test not just strength or skill, but heart and mind. You are earning the respect of this world, Terran, and mine as well." Terran felt a quiet joy. He realized that the journey was not only about proving himself to the Queen or the court, but about growth, understanding, and the relationships he had formed. Mira's trust and respect meant more to him than any recognition from others. As they walked, Terran understood that the trials were preparing him for something greater. Not only would he need to prove himself worthy, but he would also need to navigate the complexities of court life, political intrigue, and the responsibilities of a bond with the princess. He looked at Mira and smiled, feeling a sense of hope and determination. Together they represented more than a human and a Zytherian princess. They symbolized the possibility of unity, understanding, and cooperation between worlds. And somewhere in the palace, Queen Zira watched silently, satisfied that the human she had observed was rising to the challenges of Zythera. The path was not complete, but Terran was growing stronger, wiser, and closer to earning a place in a world that had once seemed impossible to reach. Terran knew that the journey was far from over. Trials remained, challenges awaited, and skeptics still lingered. Yet he also knew that through courage, honesty, and respect, he could continue to rise and perhaps one day stand as an equal beside the princess he admired and cared for. The day of the final trial arrived, and Zythera's palace shimmered with a brilliance that no human had ever seen. The twin suns reflected off crystalline towers, casting dancing patterns across the halls. Terran felt a mix of excitement and tension. He had faced many trials, yet he knew this one would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. The Queen summoned him to the central chamber. It was vast and glowing, filled with Zytherians who observed silently. Their expressions were a mixture of curiosity, skepticism, and anticipation. Terran's heart pounded. He had grown stronger through the previous trials, but he understood that the final challenge would require not just skill, courage, and compassion, but wisdom, leadership, and heart. Queen Zira's presence was commanding yet gentle. Her eyes met Terran's, sharp but filled with understanding. "Terran," she said, "you have faced trials of intellect, courage, and character. Today you will demonstrate your ability to unite, to lead, and to act with compassion in the face of great responsibility. This is the ultimate measure of your worth." Terran nodded, his determination steady. He understood that this trial would determine whether he could truly belong here, and whether the bond between himself and Princess Mira could be recognized by all of Zythera. The chamber transformed. Holographic images appeared showing various scenarios. One depicted a disaster threatening a Zytherian city. Another showed disputes between influential families. and another illustrated creatures in danger from natural hazards. Taran realized that he would need to address each situation, making decisions that required thought, empathy, and fairness. The first scenario involved the city. A sudden surge of energy from Zithera's magnetic fields threatened the structures, and citizens needed guidance. Taran moved quickly, assessing the risks and issuing instructions to safely evacuate the affected areas. He coordinated with Zitherian leaders, guiding them to protect lives while minimizing damage to the city. His calmness and clarity impressed the observers, showing that he could act decisively under pressure. The second scenario involved a dispute between two powerful families. Taran approached them carefully, listening to each side with respect. He reminded them of their shared values and common goals, guiding them toward compromise. His patience and fairness resolved the conflict, demonstrating his ability to mediate without imposing his own will. Even the most skeptical court members could not deny his skill in fostering unity. The third scenario involved endangered creatures in a valley affected by natural hazards. Taran worked alongside Zitherian guides to develop a plan that ensured the safety of the creatures while maintaining the balance of the environment. His empathy, resourcefulness, and respect for life impressed everyone present. He showed that a human could understand and honor the principles of Zythera, not just follow orders. As the final scenario concluded, the chamber fell silent. The observers, including the Queen, Princess Mira, and the court, studied him carefully. Taran stood exhausted but steady, knowing that he had given his best effort. He had acted with courage, intelligence, and compassion. He had shown that humans could rise to challenges far beyond their own world. Queen Zira spoke, her voice calm yet powerful. Taran, you have demonstrated strength of mind, courage of heart, and wisdom beyond your years. You have proven that a human can act with integrity, compassion, and understanding. You have earned not only the respect of this court, but also the possibility of a bond with Princess Mira. Taran bowed deeply, overwhelmed by the Queen's words. His journey, filled with trials and challenges, had led him to this moment. He felt a mix of relief, pride, and gratitude. Princess Mira stepped forward, her eyes bright with admiration. Taran, you have shown that worth is measured not by origin or strength, but by heart, courage, and understanding. I see your honesty, your determination, and your respect for all life. You are worthy of standing beside me, not by decree alone, but by your actions and character. Taran's chest swelled with emotion. He had feared rejection, skepticism, and failure. Yet now, through perseverance and sincerity, he had earned recognition and trust. He realized that the journey had not only proven his worth to Zythera, but had also shaped him into a stronger, wiser, and more capable human. The Queen raised her hand, signaling the court to witness the conclusion of the trials. Let it be known, she declared, that Taran, the human who dared to speak his heart, has completed the trials of unity. He has shown courage, wisdom, compassion, and leadership. He is recognized as worthy in the eyes of Zythera, and as a partner to Princess Mira should she choose him. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some Zytherians expressed admiration, others nodded in respect, and even skeptics could not deny the truth of Taran's accomplishments. The Queen's words carried authority, but Taran understood that true acceptance came from the respect and trust he had earned through his actions. Taran approached Princess Mira. Their eyes met, and in that moment words were unnecessary. He had proven himself through deeds, not just words. Mira smiled, her hand reaching for his. He took it gently, feeling a sense of connection and unity that transcended worlds. You have done more than I could have imagined, Mira said softly. You have faced challenges that would test any being, yet you have emerged stronger, wiser, and compassionate. Your heart is true and your courage has earned my respect and trust. Taran smiled, feeling a warmth and fulfillment he had never known. I could not have done it without your guidance, Mira. Your presence, encouragement, and wisdom have made all the difference. I only hope I can continue to be worthy. Mira squeezed his hand. You are already worthy. The trials tested more than skill or strength. They tested heart, mind, and spirit. You have shown all three in abundance. The Queen stepped forward, her eyes reflecting pride and satisfaction. Taran, human of courage and sincerity, you have proven that the human spirit can rise to challenges even in worlds far beyond its own. Let your actions be remembered as a bridge between Zythera and Earth, a symbol of unity, understanding, and hope. Terran bowed once more, humbled by her words. He had traveled across the stars, faced challenges that tested every part of him, and emerged with new understanding and strength. He realized that the journey had not only been about winning trials, but about growth, respect, and connection. The court began to celebrate, their voices filling the chamber with harmonious sounds. Humans and Zetharians alike acknowledged the achievement, and a sense of unity spread throughout the palace. Taran felt a deep sense of belonging, no longer an outsider, but part of something larger, something extraordinary. That evening, Taran and Mira walked through the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected in the crystal pools, casting gentle light over the paths. They spoke quietly, sharing thoughts, hopes, and dreams for the future. Taran, Mira said, your journey has inspired many. Not only have you proven yourself, but you have also shown that differences can be a source of strength, not division. You have bridged worlds with courage and heart. Taran looked at her, feeling a quiet joy. I never imagined that I could belong here or that I could earn the trust of so many. Yet through your guidance and the Queen's wisdom, I have learned that courage, honesty, and respect can overcome even the greatest challenges. They paused at a pool reflecting the stars, their hands intertwined. The palace around them glowed softly, a testament to the harmony they had helped create. Taran realized that this moment was not an end, but a beginning, an opportunity to build connections, foster understanding, and face the future together. Queen Zira observed from her chamber, satisfied that the human she had tested had proven himself beyond expectations. She had seen strength, courage, wisdom, and heart, and she knew that the union of Taran and Mira would symbolize hope and unity for generations. In the days that followed, preparations began for a ceremony to celebrate the bond between Taran and Mira. Humans and Zetharians worked together, sharing knowledge, skills, and traditions. The palace was filled with laughter, music, and the warmth of cooperation. Taran felt honored to witness the merging of two worlds, and he understood that this was the true reward of his trials, the opportunity to create harmony where there had been uncertainty. On the day of the ceremony, the palace was filled with light and energy. Zetharians of all ages gathered, and humans from the delegation watched in awe. Taran stood beside Princess Mira, his heart steady, his spirit strong, and his mind clear. The queen approached, her expression calm and radiant. Let it be known, she declared, that Taran, human of courage and honesty, has earned his place beside Princess Mira. Let this day mark the beginning of a new era, one of unity, understanding, and hope between our peoples. Taran took Mira's hand, and together they faced the assembled court. Their bond was not just a promise between two individuals, but a symbol of possibility, courage, and cooperation. Humans and Zetharians alike witnessed a moment that transcended worlds, celebrating the strength of heart and spirit over doubt and prejudice. As the ceremony concluded, Taran felt a sense of fulfillment deeper than anything he had known. He had traveled across the stars, faced trials that tested every part of him, and emerged stronger, wiser, and united with someone he admired and respected. Princess Mira looked at him with warmth and pride. The journey was not easy, Taran, but you have shown that heart, courage, and honesty can overcome even the greatest obstacles. You are ready to face the future together, whatever it may bring. Taran nodded, feeling a quiet joy. With you by my side, Mira, I know we can meet any challenge. Together, we can honor both our worlds and build something stronger than fear or doubt. The stars of Zithara reflected in the crystal pools, and the palace shimmered with a brilliance that seemed to promise hope and possibility. Taran understood that his journey was far from over, yet he had proven that humans could rise to challenges beyond imagination, earning respect, trust, and a place in a world that had once seemed impossible. And so, under the glow of twin moons, human and Zetharian walked together, ready to face the future as partners, united not just by trials but by courage, honesty, and a bond that symbolized the best of both worlds. Zithara had changed, and so had Taran. A new era had begun, one where cooperation, respect, and understanding bridged worlds, and where the courage of a single human had inspired hope across the stars.